Welcome to the Next Level Income Show, where it's our goal to take your income, your investments, and your life to the next level. I'm your host, Chris Larson. You can get a free copy of our book at nextlevelincome.com. Just click on the book link. Also, if you're an accredited investor, check out our invest link to learn more about our institutional quality investments, as well as our self-storage fund. You're not going to want to miss today's episode with Josh Kalinowski. Josh talks about his organization, Man Made, what men are missing in society today, and what he uses, the 5 F's that he uses to help them find their path. Today's show is sponsored by Money Insights and their investment optimizer strategy. In my book, I share how I use the same strategy starting over a decade ago to invest my money in 2 places at one time. This strategy has been used by the wealthiest for generations for estate planning, minimizing taxes, preserving wealth, and increasing stability for their investments. Now you can do the same thing. In addition, you can build a plan to build an emergency fund, pay for college, fund a business, plan for retirement, and ultimately optimize your total financial picture. To find out more information, check us out at the banking link at nextlevelincome.com. On today's show, we have Josh Kalinowski. Josh is a CEO, speaker, coach, serial entrepreneur, and author 13 years after his career as a professional baseball player ended. Josh established himself as a successful entrepreneur and CEO of multiple companies. He is a man of faith, father of 4, and husband to a rock star woman. As a personal coach and mentor, Josh helps people uncover their passions and live out their purpose. His fire for life ignites the flame in those who wish to burn bright. Josh, so good to have you on the show.
I've been looking forward to this day for a while, my man. We have not connected. We wanted to for a while, and we're finally here. So believe me, I'm pretty excited.
Well, 2 things had to happen. 1, I needed to grow my beard out. And 2, I needed to finish your book. So as of this morning at approximately 5:43, both those things have happened. And I did trim the beard though today, to be fair. So, if the audience,
I just want to know which one was more painful, the growth of the beard or getting through the book.
The book took longer, honestly. The beard took, it's only fair. You read mine, so I had to read yours. No,
hey, I read yours in setting, and it was at that mastermind retreat. Just we're going to put this in comparison here, buddy. So I cruised yours because it was great. It was an awesome.
Oh, I know. I had to resort to like the audiobook for yours for the times. But in all seriousness, we're gonna. There's some really great stuff in your book, Josh. Aside from just your personal story, which I'm going to let you get into, but I actually got a couple quotes that I'm gonna read here a little bit later, because there's a couple that really stuck with me and I think are really important for the audience to hear. The Next Level Income Show, we talk a lot about investing and real estate. And Josh, if you would share a little bit before we get into kind of your history in sports, about what you're up to now, what part of the country you're in, what your main business is, and then we'll jump into some of the other stuff.
Sounds good, my man. So I'm in the great state of Wyoming, and it has been odd, especially over the last couple of years with the chaos and all the confusion that's going on in our country, dude. I have never been happier to be in a state where there's more antelope than people.
Yeah.
So we have.
Is that true?
It is true.
I believe it.
We have 550,000 people in the entire state.
Wow.
Think about that, right?
Wow.
No, it's a great state. And I'll tell you what, I'm starting to really enjoy our outdoors more so than I've ever in the past. Right. And I think, fortunately and unfortunately, COVID has really exposed that and that opportunity to really enjoy the natural elements that are around us. So I live out here in the great Wyoming, and I run a number of businesses. One business is real estate, property management. We do sales in commercial and residential. Also have a roofing company as well too. We have a media company that really oversees all of what we call Kalinowski Enterprises. I had a gym, and this is kind of part of that growth, right? Is that, when do you when do you say no more? When do you shut the doors? When do you move on because that venture is no longer filling the need that it was in your life, or when it's no longer feasible financially, right? So that actually just recently happened, where we just shut the door that one, but we're starting a new venture in that space, which is exciting. We're going to be partnering with our local high school baseball team and give them an opportunity to have a place indoors, and especially a place that they can get to because the program has grown so much. the older kids need a space. And of course, that's a passion of mine with my history with baseball. So I'm excited about that. I've got 4 children, 2 boys that are in baseball. So they're going to be transitioning into that older space as well too. So I'm going to be able to see them on a regular basis, which I'm just tremendously excited about. And so, yeah, so I do that. And then I do some professional coaching as well with business CEOs and managers. And I love that. That is a passion of mine, is helping men and women reach that next level of success. And then, of course, got our group called Man Made, which is it's a private group of ambitious men. And our tagline, and I apologize if I can't cuss on this, but I know you enough that I might be able to.
You're fine. You're fine.
But it's a private group of men, that ambitious men that give a shit about life. And we care the 5 foundational pieces that we believe that every person should be striving for, which is faith, family, fitness, finance, and their future. And so we create events around that as well too. And I'm sure we'll kind of get into that. But and then I also coach my boys. I participate in life with our children, and my wife and I love to have time away. So other than that, that's about, I guess, all I can say about what I do in my life right now.
I think we're good. We're going to end the podcast right there. That was excellent. No, I mean, I've really enjoyed getting to know you, Josh, since we first met in October. Mm-hmm. And, one of the things that kind of, we were brought together there, but we had some overlap as well when you played baseball here in Asheville, North Carolina. And I got to tell you a quick story. So my wife, she went to high school and college in Colorado, and her family's a Rockies fan. So Josh played for the Rockies, for those of you that didn't listen to the intro here, and Josh is going to get into a little bit. But I took my boys to their very first Major League Baseball game in San Diego, California. And who was San Diego playing but the Colorado Rockies? So my boys on spring break wanted to cheer for the Rockies, who I believe at the time were in the last place in the conference, and San Diego was in the first. And we got pretty good seats, first game. I was pretty proud. I was going to take my boys because I grew up playing baseball, and they're cheering for the Rockies. Let's go Rockies. And they're yelling, and man, they got the stink eye. And this one guy just started giving them a hard time. And all the other fans turned around and defended my boys because, they're 2 little kids at their first game, and they got game balls. People were just, and they were like booing these other guys that were there cheering for their team. So anyway, it's an all-American sport. We got to go to the World Championship, or I'm sorry, the World Series this year, watch the Braves win.
I remember you saying that, dude. I was so envious of that. That was just awesome that you were at that game, dude.
Come on out. Yeah. But Josh, your book, tell the audience the title of your book, why it is that, and then get a little bit into your career in baseball, and then ultimately how it ended.
You bet. Well, so the book called Strike 3. What to do when the game is over, but life is not. And the reason I wrote the book, part of it was just therapy for me. I had been holding on for many years after the game was over. And it wasn't over because I decided to retire. I'd made millions of dollars. I retired as a Hall of Famer. Of course, it was because I ran into injuries. My career fell short of the ultimate accomplishment, which was becoming a Major League Baseball player. This was the dream that I had since I was old enough to put on a glove, and when it was stripped away from me, at least stripped away in my eyes, I was devastated. I was demoralized, and I really had lost my complete identity. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what my vision was for my life. I didn't know if I had even had purpose after that happened. And I felt it was really important, not only for me to be able to express this pain and this anguish that I was going through, but what I realized is that I was not the only person that was experiencing this. I started having conversations with other former players, other athletes, other that I played with. And it was really eye-opening to me to see that they had struggled with this. And as I was having more conversations with people that were in professional sports, not just in baseball, or military men and women, one of my great friends, Jimmy Klager, is a 20-year vet. He retired as a lieutenant colonel. He was a ranger for all of those years. And he chose to retire at the peak of his career, right as he was about to get that ultimate level right? And he'd been working his entire career to get to that. Well, he chose his family over the career. And, listen, and a lot of people say hey, listen, of course I do that, but very few people will actually ever be in a situation where they have to make that decision. And so as I was writing the book, I started really thinking about all of these men and women that have had that setback, that have had that failure in life, whether it's of a divorce or whether it was just a financial failure. Maybe they're making millions, and of course one day the market crashes and now they're completely broke, or they're in debt and they lose everything that they're working for for their life. What do they do now? Right. And so I wanted to show people the process that took me really 13 years in order for me to find my purpose, in order for me to create this vision, in order for me to forgive myself for the failures that I had committed in my life and identity that I had created that was around superficial things, and it wasn't really the heart of what I was really trying to chase. And really just walks through that and gives you some great tools to be able to figure out where you're at, how to overcome those obstacles, and find out that the greatest chapters are yet to come. And that also, I love this part of it too, is that you realize that these tests that you have had in your life actually become your testimonial, right? And that your pain will actually serve a greater purpose, and it's supposed to be there to impact somebody's life, right? And so that really, I think, once again, helps a lot of people get to that stage so that they can really close one of the chapters and then open up the next chapter of life.
I think it's awesome. And I think, a lot of people, especially, I mean, you write it in the book, like if basically, if you're reading this book, you probably achieve some level of success. And, there's a lot of people that get there. And what's interesting is I think your message that you have in the book, Josh, people might say, well, what is this guy who was, played, professional baseball have to do with me? But I can tell you, if you're listening, if you are or were a professional athlete, if you are a business professional, if you've reached any level of success and ultimately defined, yourself around that, because there's so many sacrifices that come with that. I think it's applicable. One of the points in there that I think, again, this applies in so many areas of life. You talk about in the book how you were rehabbing from one of your injuries.
Yeah.
And I might have the syntax a little bit incorrect here, but you basically, to paraphrase, you were talking about, and feel free to correct me, that you would have done anything. You were fighting through that injury and you wouldn't have done anything to be successful. If you wouldn't mind, kind of expound upon that and how, you've either continued to make those sacrifices in other areas of your life, or what you've learned from that and how you've adjusted that based upon, your family and your role as a father and husband now.
Yeah. Well, that's such a crucial, that I think a lot of people don't realize, is the sacrifices that people will make in order to achieve the goal in their life. I really feel like this book, not only is it great for those that have gone through it, but I think it's also great for spouses and for parents. If you're a spouse and you have a wife or a husband that was at an elite status of their life, whether they were a doctor or an attorney and they're no longer doing that, or if they were in the professional aspect of it, and you just don't understand, like, why did this mean so much to you? It gives you great insight to the mindset that as an athlete or as a professional that you have. Parents, it's the same thing. I mean, my father was reading this and he's like, I had no idea. And he was one of my best friends growing up, right? And I talked to him a lot about so many things. Evidently, I wasn't sharing this type of pain with him. And it was kind of the aha moment for him to realize, holy cow, like, this is what you were going through. And now he can relate to me at such a greater level. Right. Yeah. And so, when it came to I think the question that you're asking there is, we have to, like, when we're chasing something, one of the challenges that we're faced with is this thing, balance. Right. Well, we have to be balanced in life. We're chasing this balance. And here's the thing. Let me just help you. And let me allow you to forgive yourself for this. You're going to be unbalanced. It's okay. Right. The burden that's on your heart is there for a reason. Right. It's because you are meant to go and chase that dream, and you're meant to go and accomplish that goal. You're meant to go and strive for that. Right. And so being unbalanced for moments of your life is perfectly fine. But what you don't want to do is lose that unbalanced set of life and rules for your entire life, right? That's when you end up in divorce. That's when you end up with kids that don't even know who you are. That's when you end up broke. That's when you end up overweight. That's when you have all of these other issues in life, is when you're completely unbalanced in one of those areas. So you have to be able to identify what chapter you're at in that pursuit of that goal, right? And so being unbalanced, once again, is you have to give yourself permission to do that, right? And so I would recommend, for those of you that are in that midst right now, maybe you're chasing that goal, it's okay. But you have to be able to communicate with the loved ones. You have to be able to communicate with the people that are in your life. Maybe they're sitting at your table, right? They're the ones that you want there to support you. Say, hey, listen, I'm going to be chasing this dream for the next year, 2 years, 5 years. But I promise you, when I've chased that dream, when I've accomplished this thing, things are going to adjust. You just got to stick with me through this, right? And you just want to know, when am I going to be the unbalanced portion of your life? Right? When is our marriage going to be that? When you're raising your children, when is that going to be the priority, the unbalanced portion of your life? And so we got to be able to communicate with that. So I don't know if that answers that question completely or not. I guess could go on to this as well too, just this part of being unbalanced. I was willing to do anything to be successful, but I will tell you that there's going to be a point where you have to compromise your morals. You're going to come to the point where you're going to compromise your integrity. There's a point where you're going to compromise who you are for that goal. And you're going to have to realize what you stand on. And what I reference in this book, I think more specifically, is the fact that I was to do everything except one thing. And that was just take steroids. I grew up in the steroid era, and I easily kept access to it. I could have done it. I know it would have fixed me. I know that it would have made me go from 91, 92 miles an hour to 96, 97 miles an hour. I know that it would have got me over the hump. I would have made me healthy, but I would have lost who I was, like truly lost the essence of who I was. I would have corrupted moral fabric for that instant gratification and that instant success. And I wasn't willing to do that, even at the cost of a career. And that was really a powerful moment for me. It didn't necessarily make things better. It didn't, of course, obviously open up and, God said, all right, fantastic, you passed the test. All right, now your arm is healed. In fact, it actually led to other things in my life where I no longer was playing baseball, but I kept my integrity through these challenges. That was the one thing that I had to continue to go back to, is that I was still a man of integrity. And I did have certain things that I was not willing to sacrifice for those types of goals.
I love it. You say that in the book, like you were raised to tell the truth. You're raised not to lie. And that's one of our 4 family rules, which is tell the truth. Mm-hmm. And I think, racing in the 90s, racing bicycles in the 90s, there were steroids, there's EPO, and I had friends going, and, that's one thing I struggle with, Josh, is, you're a father, as am I. And, I've sat my children down. I've said to them, now, look, you're going to come to a point in your life. I don't care whether you're in business or you're in sports or you're in academics, whatever it is. There is somebody out there that is willing to compromise their integrity. And you have to know that you may beat that person. You may outperform that person. They may beat you, but you're going to be faced with that choice. And it's tough. I have a lot of respect for you, having kind of seen that and been through that. I want to read
And you as well. I mean, you had to go through that, and I appreciate that. What you had to go through, because you're right. Like
I wasn't as good. I say I was lucky because I wasn't good enough to make the choice. But it's a tough moment when you're faced with that.
Well, and especially the elite athletes, they're getting all the recognition, and you know that they're doing it by cheating, right? Yeah. And then how do you continue to? Well, you just have to believe stronger in who you are than what they're accomplishing.
Yeah. And I think ultimately what I've come to realize is what you learn through sports and those experiences ends up being worth more than the achievement of the sport. Yeah. Let me read one of my favorite quotes from your book here. And this might be a little controversial, but I think this is really important. Again, as a father of boys, this is from page, I think it's 112 in your book. As a country, we are facing many challenges. You can say that. The lack of men stepping up as fathers is the leading source of our issues. Fathers need to step up. Husbands need to lead up. Men need to rise up. As a society, we've lost our way in knowing what a man's role is. It's time to take back that role. Mm. if I may, for a minute here, I think, you said something about making choices, Josh. Women make choices to raise a family. We're really not meant to live in balance. We're out of balance in a lot of areas of society. You know, that's a pretty bold statement you made there. Tell us a little bit more about, kind of why you wrote that, and then ultimately what you and Man-Made are doing to help fathers and men in this country strengthen.
Well, the burden on my heart is for men and the family. And one of the challenges that we continue to face is just men being demasculated of who they are and what they should be doing. And listen, I think that the intention is right, because I believe that those on the other side that are trying to build that confidence in women and build equality. I have so much respect for my wife. This isn't about me dominating or men dominating in the household. It has nothing to do with that. What it is about men honoring the opportunity and the responsibility that they've been given, right? Just like as in women doing the same thing. Men have been silent for too long. We've advocated our responsibility as fathers. We've advocated our responsibility as husbands, and we've just sat on the sidelines for way too long. Unfortunately, our society is paying a price for that. We see this in mothers having to raise children by themselves. We see this in divorces, where we're up 43% in our divorces, right? Well, if every man made a decision that he was going to step up and step into fatherhood and husbandhood, I would guarantee that divorces would decline, that sons and daughters would have fathers showing up at their baseball games and coaching. This was at a time too, I think, where my boys were starting to get into sports, and they were playing flag football, and they're always asking for volunteer coaches, right? And of course I'm going to do that. Yeah, that's my responsibility. It's my opportunity. I've been given that opportunity to do this, right? And we were having moms have to raise hands and coach these young men at a sport that they never played, only because they were willing to stand up and say, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'll do it because I love my child, right? Do it because I'm willing to take responsibility. And here you have fathers that are not willing to take that responsibility. And so there has to be some call to action. There has to be a man to call out other men to say, dude, you were made for so much more. Right. And once one man can lead another man, then that man can lead another man, that man can lead their household, and they can lead it in their child's life. And guess what? We start creating these young boys to turn into young examples of great men. Man-Made really came up from this environment of me going, I need to surround myself with other ambitious men. I need to surround myself with other men, three-dimensional. I think, one challenge that we run into, Chris, is, and this, is that we're looking for other great men to follow, right? To lead us. We're always looking for other opportunities to be more successful in business and more successful in life. And what we find is that there's a lot of one-dimensional guys, tremendously successful in the business world, but they're a complete train wreck in their health. Maybe they've been divorced 3 or 4 times, and it's not because their wives are a problem. It's because they are the problem. They don't know their children. Their children don't talk to them. Right? Well, it's because they've been so unbalanced in their entire life that they haven't paid attention to the most important things, which is your family and those that you're responsible to. And so I got sick and tired of it. I said, listen, I'm a man of faith. So it's just more of me going, okay, God, you put this burden on my heart. What would you want me to do? And this idea of man continued to resonate with me. I'd have been a part of some men's groups, some of them biblical based, some of them just worldly based, so to speak. And none of them had the qualities of what I was looking for and what other men that I had been talking to were looking for. So we created Man-Made, where once again, it's a private group of men that are ambitious about life, that they want to be held accountable to the great things that they want to achieve and the goals that they're after. We create events for men as well, too. So this week, as a matter of fact, we're going to be doing Alpha Camp. And Alpha Camp is an awesome opportunity for guys to come to Wyoming. They get exposed to the elements of Wyoming. So they're going to be outside. They're out in the woods. We're going to be because we have snow. We're in winter here. We get to go dog sledding. Right. Exactly. Right. We get to grow the beard out. awesome. We don't have to shave that day, right? And so we get to go do things such as go dog sledding and expose ourselves to the woods and be out in nature. Guys are going to be able to chop down a tree, whether through it's a chainsaw or an axe. They're going to feel the blisters coming from the hard work that they experienced, right? Have opportunities to just talk with other men about life and things that maybe they're challenged with and things that they're ambitious to go do, right? And so they get to experience awesome, amazing, manly things and then be exposed to other men that will either challenge them or they need their support. Because one thing that men we know this, is that men want to be appreciated, they want to be heard, and they want to be pushed. And when you have a man that has all three of those in his life, guess what? You have a very powerful man. And
I love it. I love it. I was listening. I'm trying to think who was talking. It was Grant Cardone, which I know Grant can be kind of controversial, but I love him because he's out there. It's like he says whatever's in his brain. And I was watching an interview with him, and he was talking about that anxiety and depression. And he said, I was depressed. I was on drugs. Like I was given these drugs to take. And look, I've been depressed too. I lost my best friend, and it was a good year that I went through it and fought through some different stuff. But what Grant said was really impactful. He said he felt that depression came from the opportunity that you've been given to achieve, and you knowing you were not achieving what you were capable of doing. And by having to look in the mirror and knowing that. And as I thought and let that sink in, I started to think like, if I'm feeling anxiety or feeling this may come, like, as you were saying, Josh, from integrity, when you know you're capable of more, but you caved, you took the drugs, you cheated, you did something, these things are really, really impactful. And I think it is. I mean, listen, I think it's amazing to see. Like, I look at my wife; she's an architect, she's a professional. My grandmother, was the first female to go to college in her family. I look like where women have come. But I also think it's important that we recognize, like you said, there are things that men need, desire, and how we can support them as well as women. I'd love you to walk through the five, as faith, family, fitness, finance, and future, and how these fit into man-made and your personal life.
Yeah, you bet, my man. So really, those are five foundational pieces that we have found that everybody, whether you're a man or a female, really need to be paying attention to in order to have, a well-rounded life, right? And speaking of that, kind of like trying to be balanced and understand, there's times in your life where you're completely unbalanced. You're not paying attention to your faith. And faith is not only in the spiritual realm of things, right? Man of faith, I know the impact that that part has helped me in my life. If I didn't have that entity, that part of my life with my relationship with God, that would have been a complete train wreck. I would have lost hope. I would have, because I didn't believe in myself. And no matter what anybody else said, I didn't believe that they believed in me, right? But I had that faith that at least there was one being, there was one person that believed in me because he created me. Now, maybe I was a mistake. Maybe I had made mistakes in my past, but I knew that I could be something greater because I at least had one person that I truly, authentically believed that I knew was in me. But also, we have to start to grow into this faith within ourselves, right? Building these integrity moments. I talk about this in the book a lot, because if we do not have faith in ourselves, we're never going to go and accomplish and do the hard things that it takes to be of significance in life. Right. And that's one of the things that we are chasing for, especially as men. We want significance. Right. And so it's really important for us to build that faith. Listen, sometimes you don't have it, and that's why you need a group of men. That's why you need a healthy relationship with your wife. That's why you need other people sitting at your table, because they sometimes will have greater faith in you than you will at that time, especially when you're chasing something big, right? So then it goes to the family. And here's the thing: is it's in that specific order as well too, because once again, we start to create different orders. So it's like, the biggest thing is, it's not faith, family, it's my fitness. Fitness is the number one priority in my life, right? And you're like, okay, but what good is your fitness if you don't have your family? And what good is your fitness if you don't have your faith? Now, fitness is absolutely important. You are one of the reasons why you and I think hit it off well is because we have that drive, right? That drive to be as fit as we possibly can be so that we can be so good in all these other areas of our life, right? But what we wanted to do is make sure that we had this in order. Right. So faith was number one. Family is number two, because why are we doing all of these things? Well, it's because we can build legacy so that we can pour into the next generation. We have taken on that responsibility by having children, which is a wonderful, amazing gift. If you think about the opportunity that we've been given to impact and influence the next generation, right? What an awesome opportunity that we've had. You know, we talk about it being an obligation sometimes. Well, sometimes it does feel like an obligation when you're arguing with your children. But when you take a step back, you also know it is such an amazing opportunity for you to impact, right? And then, of course, getting into your fitness, which fitness is not just the physical part of it as well, too, but it's also the mental health and making sure that you're taking care of yourself mentally so that you can be the best for somebody else, right? So you get faith, family, fitness, your finances. Dude, I'm telling you, I grew up with the mentality in my household that money was the root of all evil, right? I grew up in a very strict, kind of a Catholic household where my dad, it wasn't about money. It was about impact. It was about all these other things. And I was so focused on money because I had none. We had none. We grew up tremendously poor. I remember drinking powdered milk when I was younger, right? I mean, it was just that, it was that mentality. And we were never taught significance of how well money could be in our lives. And so I had this scarcity for money for a long time. But here's the thing is that it's not the love of money, or money's not the root of all things. It's the love of money that is the root of all evil. And I had that misconception that it was money, right? So
money's a magnifier. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. It allows you, if you're going to do good with it, it allows you to do even greater good with it. It allows you to have even greater impact. It allows you to create generational wealth, which I know that's something that is really important in your life and what you and your wife are striving to do. That is awesome. And we should be doing it for that purpose. And we should be doing it to grow, the kingdom, our kingdom and the kingdom, so to speak. And so I want to acknowledge that. That is not a bad thing. We need more great human beings with more money, because we know that the transfer of wealth has happened far greater in the last 2 years than in any other generation. It's going to continue to do that. And we need the right people with that wealth. Absolutely. And then we don't spend any time with the future. Right. We're so driven.
Yeah, I'm glad you added that, because that's a big one. I've seen a lot of this stuff before, Josh, and the fact that you add that is awesome.
Yeah. It makes us take a step out of the fishbowl, right? We all live in our own little fishbowl, and sometimes we can't see past that. You start to look at the future, you understand what you're in pursuit of, right? You start to understand, why am I really doing it? I love the fact that you have family values. Like, that is so awesome, because that has showed, and it's telling your audience that you are looking at the future. What do I want my boys to be like when they're in their 20s and their 30s and their 40s? The examples that we need to hold ourselves accountable now to help them become these men in the future, right? If we don't have a future, there's a great biblical verse about this, is that if you don't have a future, if you don't know where you're going, the people will perish, right?
Absolutely.
What do you think is happening in our country, right? We're losing all of these things that our country has been founded on because we don't have a vision of the future, or we're losing those things because the vision has changed, and those that are leading us are changing the vision for all of us. And that's why you're seeing things like in complete disruption.
No. Whew. Yeah. You ended with an exclamation point there. Josh, I feel like we're just scratching the surface, and I just got you wound up, and like we can go on and on.
Can you tell I'm a little bit passionate right now?
Oh, I absolutely love it. I love it, and we're going to continue this conversation for sure. But we're gonna have to stop here today. But I want people to know how best to learn more about your story, your businesses, how to get your book, and also if they want to learn more about Man-Made.
You bet.
Where do they go?
Yeah, thanks. So first of all, you can follow me on all social media platforms. Josh Kalinowski is pretty much my handle on just most of them.
We'll put that in the show notes, because I know I know not only is it hard to spell, I know it's hard for you to spell sometimes too. So I'll make sure we put that in the show notes for everybody.
That's why I just go by JK, dude. Just JK. It took me 20 years to spell that last name, dude. So, so I had to lower it.
That's a true story for the audience. I'm not going to go into it, but a little Polish, inside joke there. Sorry.
I'm Polish, man. Here we go. And so, yeah, so you can follow me. Listen, if you're on Facebook, I'm actually transferring over to Instagram here next month, but I do an 8:30 Mountain Standard Time every morning, Monday through Friday. I do what's called drive time. And I just give you
it's cool.
Yeah, just give me my 15 minutes of the day. I talk about what I'm working on, challenge myself with, and maybe it'll resonate with you. And I kind of challenge you to do the same thing, at least start having these conversations with yourself. In Man-Made, if you just go to man-made.org, you can go to the website. You'll see the events that we have in there. We have 3 events, and I just absolutely, I tell you, I love what we're doing because it's having such an impact with men. Alpha Camp is one that it's just a blast. It's so much fun. The Awakening is for physically, mentally, and emotionally exhausting event for guys that just really need to figure their shit out, and they just have they need to break through something that's holding them back. And it's just an amazing event. We see transformation in guys. It's awesome. And then we have our Core Discovery, which is for men's and for fathers and for sons. And it's this awesome opportunity for dads to walk through their boys through this transition into manhood, that rite of passage. You don't do this as a country. And one of the greatest things that other countries have done, other beliefs have done, is they've always had this rite of passage. And a boy knew when they became a man. Well, we don't have that here, right? And so we created an event for fathers to walk them through so that you could always look back on that day and say, hey, I've handed you the keys. I've helped you become a young man in this venture for you to become an independent man. And so I just absolutely love it. We've got events that are throughout the year for that as well too. So, and then the last thing I would say, I know I got a ton here, dude. I know we got to go. We got our Man-Made Summit February 8th, 9th, and 10th. This is a completely virtual event. So you don't have to you don't have to go anywhere. It is, so we'll get a link for that as well too, my man. And that is going to be awesome. We've got Jen Cudmore, who is a alpha female. She's out of Australia. She has, she's going to walk us through the money paradigm. And so for all of you that are just finding that you are not able to get to that financial freedom that you've wanted in your life, this is going to be an amazing opportunity for you to break through some of those limiting beliefs. And especially as a man, if you want to provide more for your family, she's going to be talking about that on day one. And then we've got some awesome speakers, some other alpha males that are doing amazing things. They're going to help you with personal breakthroughs, whether it's in your health and vitality, whether it's just in your business and what that next level is. And then, of course, obviously the personal side of it. How do we help empower you and give you the tools to start taking more of that headship role in the family? So just going to be a great time, and looking forward to having men on that summit.
I love it. Josh Kalinowski, this has been an awesome conversation. I encourage everybody to check out everything that Josh just went through here. JK, until I talk to you next time, thanks for sharing.
Appreciate you, brother. Thanks, man.
Hey, Chris here again. I hope you found this episode valuable. Now, I have one more thing to gift you. We have a page for my coaching clients where you can get a free copy of my book, as well as much more from previous guests on the show. Just check out nextlevelincome.com/coaching to get a free copy of my book, audiobook, and much more. I'll send you a copy of my book and cover all the shipping costs as a thank you for listening to the podcast. Also, please like, share, and take just 90 seconds to give us a rating on Apple Podcasts.